This is my 3-week review of the Leatherman Bond. A while back, I bought the Leatherman Bond, and I did an unboxing of it, and I showed it the very day I got it. But I've carried this multi-tool a lot, and I've used it a lot. And in this video, I'm going to kind of let y'all know my thoughts on it after carrying it and using it for a little over 3 weeks. First thing I want to say is, the truth is, I believe I've carried it every single day. I didn't carry it all of every day, but I believe I've carried it or used it every day since I've had it. And that should tell you how I feel about it a lot. Because a lot of times I was wanting to carry something else, but I ended up carrying this Bond. For instance, to illustrate this, I had gotten this Surge at a pawn shop and cleaned it up. And there was a lot of days after I had gotten this one that I was wanting to carry it, but I found myself carrying the Bond instead of this Surge. Not necessarily because I wanted to, but because it was easier and it made a lot more sense. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what I really like about the Bond, and one thing that I won't say I don't like about it, but one thing that I want to mention that is not as good as it probably could be. So let's dig right into this. The Leatherman Bond after 3 weeks of use. The first thing that I really like about this multi-tool is the way it feels. Just the way it feels in the hand. Now sometimes, you'll get comments on the videos and so on of people who say that they've got really tough calloused hands and they can handle anything, no matter how uncomfortable or sharp it might be. And whereas it is true that if you've got calluses and you're used to working, that a lot of things won't bother your hands to do them, and you can bear the pain. There really is no need to bear the pain. A company like Leatherman, if they can produce something that is as comfortable to hold as this one, that is a plus. And we need to highlight that and say they're doing a good job on it. And they are really doing a good job on the Leatherman Bond. This is so comfortable to hold in the hand, and there's a few reasons for that. First thing is, notice the back here is completely smooth. So when you hold it, there's nothing cutting into the back of your hand. Notice the sides also on the Leatherman Bond are completely smooth. The closest thing you have to a sharp edge are these little screws, and they're not sharp. The end is rounded off and smooth. That's true of both ends. And overall, the tool itself is smooth and comfortable. And this is both when we're carrying the knife and using it. Let me showcase with the knife blade first. So you open up your tool, pop out your knife blade. This is comfortable like this. I mean, whether you're going to be using it like this or using it like this, any position you hold this in, it is comfortable. And it's ergonomic. It's kind of a normal rectangular shape, but it's still comfortable and it's ergonomic and it feels good in the hand. If this was the only tool you were carrying, this is an excellent knife blade, but I'll come to that in a minute. But for the moment, it is comfortable to use with one of the inside utensils open, whichever tool it might be you're using. But at the same time, it's still comfortable to use with the pliers. I really like the way it feels. I think it's very comfortable. I have nothing bad to say about it. It feels great in hand. Ergonomics-wise, they need an A++ for the Leatherman Bond, in my opinion. Now, one reason you can see is that they have rolled the steel over right there, which makes it not so sharp, makes it not dig into your hand so much. I didn't have a problem with the old PST or the Super Tool digging into my hands, but this one certainly is very comfortable, no matter which position it's in, whether we're talking about fully closed in the pocket or one of the tools out, like the can opener, the screwdriver, or the knife blade, or whether we're talking about it open in the plier position. The Bond is comfortable in every position that you can put the tool in my opinion and from my experience so far. Second thing I really like about the Leatherman Bond that they did an absolute great job on is the weight. In one way, weight isn't a big deal, but in the other sense, it's a huge deal. There's times when you simply don't want a lot of weight beating around in your pocket. For instance, if you're climbing on something, like if you're up on a ladder, or if you're scooting under a car, changing oil or something like that, there are certain times you don't want a lot of weight. If I'm going to do a lot of mowing, and I know I'm going to be walking for a few miles, I absolutely don't want a bunch of weight in my back pocket, especially if it's hot outside. And I've already got a regular knife on me, my phone, my keys, a pen, all kinds of stuff already in my pocket, my wallet. And I don't want a whole lot of weight if I don't have to have it. Well, that's the place where this Bond shines. It's not too heavy. This one comes in around 5.80 ounces when I weighed it. So it's not too heavy to just throw in your back pocket. If you're going to carry a belt, you can put a sheath on it. You could put a heavy tool in there, and it won't bother you. It'll be just fine. But if, on the other hand, you don't want to take the time to wear a belt that day, you don't want to have a sheath, you just want something in your pocket, throw this Leatherman Bond in your back pocket. It's light enough to do that. And that, in my opinion, makes this an excellent, excellent EDC Multitool. So that's the second thing I have to say about it. The weight is wonderful. If you have an older PST, it's very similar weight-wise. It weighs just a speck more. But from my experience, it doesn't weigh enough. It doesn't weigh enough more that it actually affects its carryability. It's still very comfortable, and it's great to carry. And that's true also if you're dressing up. Like if I'm dressing up for church, I'll wear a suit or I'll wear a sport coat or whatever. I can put that in the sport coat, or I can put it in my back pocket, and it's comfortable to do what I need to do. So weight is a big deal with the Leatherman Bond, and it's something that I really like. The third thing I want to say that I really like is the plier head itself. Some of the representatives for Leatherman said, and this is kind of hard to believe, so I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but they said that the Bond had one of the strongest plier heads. And the reason they said that was because it doesn't have the cutouts for the replaceable wire cutters. This is what it looks like when they do that, like this surge here. They say that since they haven't had to cut away all this material, that the Leatherman Bond has one of the strongest plier heads. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes good sense to me. If you compare it, for instance, to the original Super Tool, if you're comparing the length of the plier head, the Super Tool has a longer plier head. But if you're looking at like the size of the pivot, the Bond's pivot is a little larger. And the Bond is equal to the Super Tool in every way except for length. And the Bond, in my opinion, is plenty big enough for an EDC multi-tool. A plier style multi-tool. The wire cutters are excellent. The plier head itself is excellent. And this is the part where I want to mention how wide you can open up your pliers. This is something I noticed that I found very interesting. If you open the pliers up as far as they'll go till they stop, you'll notice that the Leatherman Bond has one of the widest reaches out of any of these tools. See if I can get this lined up right so it's a fair comparison. There, you can see that. The Leatherman Bond actually opens wider than the Leatherman Surge. Now, the Leatherman Surge is a lot beefier, heavier duty multi-tool, but it is something to note. And now we'll show the original PST. Again, it's the same story. It does not open up as wide as the Bond. And I tried that with all my Leathermans, and the Bond has the widest opening pliers out of any of them, which, if you think about it, that means that this might be able to turn a bolt or something. You're not going to be able to do it if there's a lot of pressure on it, if it's really tight or anything. But you might be able to grab something with this small Leatherman Bond that you can't grab with this large Surge because of that. So that is certainly a benefit to the Bond, one that needs to be mentioned. The next thing I want to note, and this one is subjective to me. You all may not feel the same way about this, and you might even think it's silly, but it's a big deal to me, and it makes good sense to me. I like slip joint knives. That's mainly what we focus on this channel, whether it's Case or whether it's some other brand. But it's these slip joint style knives, where there is no locking mechanism. You just open them up, and the spring retention holds the blade open and keeps it shut when you close it. I think that's a great way of doing a knife, and it works well. The Bond is also a slip joint. Now, don't let that worry you, because they executed it so well that it really works well as a slip joint. When you open up one of these tools, this spring here on the back is going to snap down and lock that tool into place. Now, if you'll notice, there's a little groove cut out right under that spring there. And that groove really improves the spring retention whenever you pull one of these tools out. And so, if you're going to be using the knife, for instance, you got your knife out in this position, and you're cutting whatever you need to cut. Well, it takes a good amount of pressure to be able to close that blade. And so, even it would take a lot of pressure for you to accidentally close it. That's possible, but it's not likely, especially if you know how to use a knife. Anybody who don't know how to use a tool can damage themselves or hurt themselves trying to do something with it. But if you know how to use a knife, you're not going to have a bit of problem with this because it's got so much spring retention. I'm guessing it has 2 to 3 times more retention than the original PST does. But on top of that, even if you do manage to fold the blade, this is what's going to happen. It's still not going to close on your fingers, and all you got to do is just push it right back out. So to me, a slip joint mechanism is not a problem, but I think it can be a benefit. And the way it's a benefit is the ease of opening and closing the tool. Now, this is not really a big deal. And this is not really a big deal here. It's not a deal breaker or nothing. But I'm used to slip joints. And so if I open this up, say I pull out the file to sharpen up my garden hoe. Got my file open here. And then I decide I want to close it. Well, I've found that if I'm carrying the Wave or the Surge, I always just want to open it up and shut it. Well, you can't do that on them because of the lock. You know, if you're wanting to close one of these tools, we'll pull out the bottle or can opener. You have to flip it over. You've got to close the tool. And then you've got to close the whole plier. And that's not a big deal. But because I'm used to slip joints, I like the ease and the quickness of just being able to pop this open, pull your blade out, shut her right up. You know, it's pretty quick. It just takes a minute. Same thing with closing it. Did you see how quick that was? That is one big benefit to the Bond. Like, say I'm wanting to get out my Phillips. See, that's pretty quick. It's quicker than a lot of the others where you have a lock. If I want to close the Bond, that's how long it takes. Now, just for a comparison, if I'm going to pull the Phillips out of my Wave, it'll take me about the same amount of time to open it up. But to close it, it's going to take me just a speck longer. You know, I'll have to open the tool up, close it, and then close the tool. That's no big deal, and it just takes a second. And it really doesn't matter, but I'm just saying all this to say I like slip joints. I'm used to slip joints. And the Bond being a slip joint is not a problem to me. I actually like it. Although I understand why people like locks on their multi-tools, and I like locks on them also. But don't neglect the slip joint. So that's another thing I like about the Bond. The next thing I like about the Bond is I find that for my personal needs, and everybody's needs different depending on what they do every day and the tasks they work on, I like that the Bond has every tool I need and no tools that I don't. What I mean by that is there are certain tools that I simply don't need on my multi-tool and that I simply really don't use. One of them is going to be the precision screwdriver like we find on the Leatherman Wave. I don't need that on my tool. I would rather I had a reamer there or an awl. I don't need that with me every day. We can say the exact same thing, at least I can, for the wood saw. I mean, I very, very rarely need a small wood saw like this. If I need a saw, generally I need a bigger one. And while this is useful and I like it being on here, for my everyday carry, I don't need it on there every day. So I'm just lugging it around just like the precision screwdriver without using it. And another thing, I like the serrated blade on the Wave in the Surge, but I really don't need it every day. I like it, but I don't need it. And so that's another thing to cut off that saves a little weight and a little size. If we compare the Wave to the Bond, they're the same length. But look at the width difference. I mean, it's a tremendous, tremendous amount of difference width-wise. And when you set down, you can feel it in your back pocket if that's how you're carrying it. And again, that's what that goes back to, ease of carry. You can carry anything you want to, but we're talking about how easy it is to do it. And with the Bond, you're getting a great tool set, and you're getting everything in the tool set that I find I need. You got your knife blade, you got your bottle and can opener wire stripper, you got your Phillips. That's the one side. On the other side here, we have our awl/reamer, our medium screwdriver, our large flat blade screwdriver, and we've got our file and our lanyard ring. That's really all I need with me. Then for the main tool, you have your plier, your wire cutter, your hard wire cutter, and then on the back you have your measurer that goes out to 8 inches. And so this really has everything on it that I need and nothing on it that I don't need. I like that. Also, you can put a pocket clip on it, which I don't have, but I might get someday. So those are the main things I really like about the Leatherman Bond. We could also throw in the price, the fact that it's $59 right now. That's excellent. And it's got that 25-year warranty. You can't go wrong with the Leatherman Bond. Now, to talk about the one thing that I don't think is perfect about it. And it's a little detail, and it really isn't a big deal. But if I'm going to be using one of the screwdrivers, because that is the only way that I notice this unique characteristic. So say I open up the Phillips. This is also only going to happen if I have it closed into this position right here. So say I put this on a Phillips screw and I start to turn the tool. When I do and I start applying pressure like this, these handles can wiggle slightly back and forth. Can you see that? They can wiggle slightly back and forth. And I don't believe it's going to break anything, but it is something to note that there is some wiggle. Now, if you're using it like this, you're not going to get any wiggle. And it's also true if you're going to be using it like this. You're also not going to get any wiggle in this position. But you will get some side-to-side play in this position, in the closed position when you're using one of the screwdrivers, where that the other handle can flex and wiggle just a little bit. Now, the reason why this is happening is because of something that this one does not have, and that is tool packing or tool crowding. If we look on the original PST and look down in the handles here, you're going to notice this little divot right there on the Phillips screwdriver. See that? How that it's recessed a little more? That is so that the plier head can fit down in there. See how that works? That keeps the head from moving left or right. It's also true in the other handle. See that little piece cut out right there? So when you close this, they go down in there. And so if you're using something like a Phillips or a flathead, as you use that tool, the blade is more or less, the head of pliers, is more or less trapped in there. So you can't wiggle this left and right much. You can still get a little, but not much. Now, this is a benefit where it's not so crowded. It's easier to get the tools open. But if you crowd it a little bit and design it right, it can keep the handles from flexing when you use it. So it's a give or take. And that is one thing I want to say about the Leatherman Bond that I have noticed. It's not caused me any problems, and I don't expect it to. But it is interesting to note, and it is a little different. Let me know how y'all feel about the Leatherman Bond. Comment down below. If y'all haven't tried this one, give it a try. See what you think of it for the price. You can get it used for the $40 to $50 range. You can get it brand new, $59.99, and that's with a sheath. You comment down below what you think about the Leatherman Bond. You have a good day. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your knives sharp.